The galaxy had long believed humanity extinct. For over 1,000 years, the outer Terran colonies were considered nothing more than charred ruins, reminders of a species that had dared to expand beyond its home star system and had paid the ultimate price. The Great Purge, as it was called by the empires that had orchestrated it, was a sweeping operation of military precision. Entire worlds had been glassed, fleets annihilated in a matter of hours, cities reduced to ash so complete that not even ruins remained. Across countless star systems, governments and citizens alike celebrated what they thought was the final chapter of human history. They wrote histories, composed memorials, and erected statues commemorating the victory of civilization over an insignificant, chaotic species. Yet, in a small, uncharted pocket of space, a single colony had survived. Hidden in the dark folds of a nebula, within the gravity-warped corridors of a dense cluster of uncharted planets, Elysium existed undetected for centuries. The colony had been planted by the first wave of Terran explorers, a settlement considered lost during the Purge. Its isolation, which might have seemed a curse to the galaxy at large, became humanity's greatest advantage. While the empires celebrated the annihilation of the Terrans, Elysium grew, flourished, and transformed in secret. Life on Elysium was harsh, purposeful, and unwavering. There was no outside world to rely upon, no fleets coming to protect them, no interstellar laws to shield them from external threats. From the beginning, the colonists understood that survival required more than skill, it demanded perfection. Children were taught strategy, science, and engineering from their earliest days. Young soldiers trained not against imagined foes, but against the tactics of the galaxy's most advanced militaries, as reconstructed from ancient logs, recovered archives, and the memories of elders who had survived the Purge. The colony became a crucible, a place where adversity forged strength, endurance, and ingenuity. Centuries passed, and with each generation, the people of Elysium perfected their craft. Scientists developed ways to harvest energy from dying stars, bending raw stellar energy to power not only their cities, but the mechanisms of war that might one day be required. Engineers designed fleets capable of traversing uncharted hyperspace corridors undetected, outfitting ships with propulsion systems and shielding far beyond the understanding of even the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. Soldiers were drilled in tactics of attrition, precision, and adaptation. Strategy was not merely learned, it was instinct, etched into muscle memory and decision-making networks across neural-linked command systems. Humanity's society, isolated as it was, did not stagnate. It evolved. Philosophers debated ethics in a vacuum where consequences were real and immediate. Leaders honed decision-making under pressure, learning to act decisively when failure meant extinction. Artists and historians chronicled events, but in Elysium, even creativity was fused with utility. Knowledge was power, power was survival, and survival was sacred. The generations who grew up on Elysium knew their purpose. One day, the galaxy that had written them off would face the humans it had thought eradicated. Meanwhile, the empires beyond the nebula went on with their lives, oblivious to the hidden civilization that had survived beneath their noses. They celebrated victories that had not truly been won. They rebuilt fleets, formed alliances, and codified treaties to prevent future human threats, never suspecting that the species they considered extinct had endured, adapting in secret, growing stronger with every passing century. They assumed the galaxy had exiled humanity to history, to myth. They assumed wrong. The first stirrings of change came quietly, imperceptibly at first. Scouts returned from the outer sectors, reporting strange disturbances in sensor readings, fleeting anomalies in deep space energy signatures, unexplained warp disruptions. No one paid them serious attention. Yet each disturbance was a sign of Elysium's awakening, a planet that had trained, prepared, and now planned its long-anticipated return. Every anomaly was a step toward revealing to the galaxy that humanity had not only survived, but had been preparing for the day it would reclaim its place among the stars. And now that day had come. The colony's fleets, long silent and hidden, dreadnoughts, frigates, and orbital platforms that had been constructed in secret for centuries began deploying along critical junctions of interstellar space. Weapons that could dismantle entire fleets with a single shot were primed and ready. Communications arrays hijacked across the sectors began transmitting signals in patterns the galaxy could not interpret. It was not merely a display of force, it was a demonstration of inevitability. Commander Sarah Halvorsen, standing on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Dawn, looked out at the stars beyond Elysium with the calm of someone who has waited a millennium for this moment. Her officers, descendants of the original colonists, mirrored her expression, their resolve unwavering. "They thought we were dead," she said softly, yet every word carried the weight of centuries. "They believed our silence was surrender. They assumed the extinction of our people meant the end of humanity. And now the galaxy will pay for that assumption." Outside the hidden warp lanes of the nebula, the first fleet slipped into motion, unseen, unstoppable. Sensor arrays flickered across distant empires as alien fleets suddenly lost cohesion. Hyperspace lanes became hazardous, and defensive outposts experienced inexplicable system failures. Humanity had survived, not merely to exist, but to remind the galaxy that the species it had underestimated for millennia was no longer defenseless. In the quiet corridors of Elysium, generations of patience culminated in a singular purpose. Centuries of training, innovation, and strategy converged into one irreversible truth. Humanity had endured, and the universe would soon discover the cost of its hubris. The galaxy, which had celebrated their extinction, would now come face to face with a force it had ignored at its own peril. And as the first Elysium-class dreadnoughts moved beyond the nebula, cutting a path through the darkness of uncharted space, a single thought resonated across every mind on that hidden colony. They were no longer survivors. They were arbiters. They were inevitable. They were the reckoning. The galaxy had assumed humanity was dead. It had assumed they were powerless. It had assumed that time had erased their threat. It had assumed everything. And now the galaxy would pay. The first signs of humanity's return were subtle, yet undeniable. Across the uncharted regions near Elysium, sensors once thought dormant flickered to life, revealing the movement of ships hidden for centuries. These were not exploratory craft or scouting vessels. They were warships, dreadnoughts, frigates, and interceptors, forged in secrecy, tested in isolation, perfected to exacting standards. Each hull, each engine, each weapon system had been designed for one purpose: to restore humanity's dominion across the stars that had once attempted to erase them. The flagship, Eternal Dawn, drifted silently at the forefront of the fleet. Its hull was a marvel of centuries-old engineering, reinforced with alloys unknown to even the most advanced alien civilizations. Its energy cannons, capable of obliterating entire fleets with a single concentrated discharge, glowed faintly as power coursed through conduits thicker than any human spine. Every system was linked through neural interfaces that allowed the crew to act in unison, thinking and moving as one organism. Centuries of isolation had forged the humans into a civilization that could wield entire star systems like instruments of precision, their coordination unmatched by anything the galaxy had ever known. Commander Sarah Halvorsen moved through the bridge with deliberate calm, her gaze scanning the holographic displays of strategic points, hyperspace lanes, and the faintly glowing outlines of alien fleets. Around her, officers of the Elysium Council executed commands with silent efficiency, their movements synchronized as though their very neural pathways were tuned to one another. "Today," Halvorsen said, her voice quiet but carrying across the bridge, "the galaxy will learn what happens when it underestimates a species it thought extinct. They will remember us not as survivors, but as the reckoning." The humans did not rush forward recklessly. Centuries of patience had taught them the value of timing, precision, and anticipation. Each ship's trajectory, each formation, each deployment had been calculated over decades. Orbital sensors flickered into alignment as the fleet assumed its positions around critical interstellar junctions, points the galaxy had long considered secure and untouchable. The humans moved like a shadow across the stars, unseen until it was too late for their enemies to respond. Back in the galaxy beyond the nebula, fleets and stations that had once ruled the outer sectors remained oblivious. Trade convoys followed established routes, unaware that the lanes had already been silently compromised. Patrols performed their routines, blind to the fact that monitoring systems were now manipulated. Guidance signals subtly redirected, communications intercepted and overwritten. In hours, the structures that had once seemed unassailable would be under the control of the hidden colony's forces. From the bridge, Halvorsen activated the next phase. Holographic projections of alien defensive formations expanded across the screens. Enemy fleets were marked, each with projected reaction times, vulnerabilities, and predicted responses. The humans were not just reacting. They had anticipated every contingency, every strategy that could be deployed against them. Every fleet, every weapon system, every tactical maneuver that alien commanders might consider had already been counted in thought, tested in simulation, and incorporated into their operational plan. "Activate the Elysium Lattice," Halvorsen commanded. The bridge lights dimmed as the neural network spanning the fleet hummed to life. Ships became extensions of one mind, moving in perfect harmony, their formations folding and bending through space with the grace of a predator stalking its prey. Hyperjump corridors were secured, choke points reinforced, and sensor grids manipulated to create illusions, feeding alien fleets false data as the humans advanced with unstoppable inevitability. On distant colonies, the first anomalies were detected. Communications jammed, engines failed, fleets lost cohesion mid-maneuver. Panic spread slowly at first, a ripple of confusion among civilizations that had long believed humanity gone. No one could comprehend the precision of the attack, the foresight, or the depth of planning behind it. It was not merely force, it was orchestration, a calculated dance of inevitable consequence. Halvorsen observed the unfolding chaos with the calm of one who had waited for centuries to strike. Every action, every adjustment of the fleet was executed with exacting perfection. Every alien fleet immobilized, every hyperspace lane seized, every strategic outpost captured or neutralized reinforced a single truth: humanity had survived. Humanity had endured. And now, the galaxy would pay for its hubris. As the fleet surged toward the outer sectors, the nebula's shadows receding behind them, Halvorson's voice echoed in the minds of every officer and commander aboard the ships. We were hidden. We were patient. And now, the universe will know what happens when humans are underestimated. We are not merely returning, we are reclaiming. And no one will stop us. The hidden colony had awakened. The humans had emerged from centuries of silence and secrecy with a force no empire could ignore. The galaxy, blind to their existence for a millennium, would soon understand that extinction had never been a possibility. The galaxy did not immediately realize what had happened. Alien fleets, patrols, and trading convoys operated on centuries-old assumptions that humans were weak, scattered, and extinct. Those assumptions shattered within hours. Communications from outlying sectors went dark. Supply chains faltered. Command networks of entire fleets went unresponsive as human forces silently seized control of the infrastructure that had once seemed invincible. The first direct engagement, or more accurately, the first display of human control, was surgical. A Xylarian dreadnought, the pride of the Outer Expanse's navy, moved along a routine patrol corridor, unaware it had already been anticipated. Human interdiction drones, launched centuries before and now activated remotely, disabled its engines and jammed its communications. Before the crew could react, a concentrated energy beam from an Elysium-class dreadnought struck, piercing armor designed to withstand planetary bombardment. The ship was immobilized, helpless in orbit, and yet not a single human life had been lost. The demonstration was not about killing, it was about precision, inevitability, and dominance. Every fleet, every station, every choke point that had been considered secure suddenly became a pawn in humanity's web of influence. Hyperspace lanes were disrupted with exact timing. Orbital platforms that had been thought impenetrable were silently disabled, systems overwritten by human algorithms perfected over centuries of isolation. It was not chaos that the humans sowed, it was control disguised as chaos, a symphony of calculated disruption that left entire civilizations bewildered and paralyzed. On the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, Commander Sarah Halvorson watched as the first dominoes fell. Holographic displays flickered with data showing immobilized fleets, disrupted communications, and strategic nodes now under human control. "They thought we were dead," she murmured to herself, voice calm yet carrying the weight of centuries. "They assumed our silence meant surrender. Now, they will learn the cost of underestimation." Across the galaxy, alien commanders scrambled to understand what had gone wrong. Entire fleets found themselves trapped within zones of human influence they had never known existed. Their weapons were offline, their sensors compromised, and their reinforcements either delayed or blocked entirely. The humans had anticipated every conceivable response. Every calculation, every defensive protocol, every emergency maneuver had already been accounted for and neutralized before the aliens even had time to consider them. The effect on the galaxy was immediate and profound. Panic rippled through empires that had once celebrated humanity's supposed extinction. Trade convoys halted mid-transit, leaving valuable goods stranded in orbit. Starport operations ceased as communications failed, leaving planetary populations bewildered. Civilizations that had considered themselves unshakable now found themselves vulnerable to a species they had assumed powerless. The humans did not attack indiscriminately. They asserted control, claiming strategic points, disabling opposition, and demonstrating a level of foresight that the galaxy had never encountered. Even seasoned generals and veteran admirals struggled to comprehend what was unfolding. They had faced countless wars, rival empires, and internal revolts. Yet the human return was unlike anything in recorded history. It was not brute force. It was not mere numbers. It was inevitability. It was centuries of preparation manifesting in perfect execution. As the first wave of human forces secured key positions across multiple sectors, Halvorsen addressed her fleet. "We are not here for vengeance," she said, her voice carrying through the neural network, linking every ship. "We are here for justice. We are here to remind the galaxy what it means to underestimate humans. Every move we make is deliberate, every outcome inevitable, and every civilization that disregarded us will learn that lesson today." The galaxy, once confident in its dominion, now faced a species that had survived centuries of presumed annihilation, mastered the art of patience, and returned not as a desperate remnant, but as a force of unparalleled precision and control. Humanity was no longer merely surviving, they were orchestrating a new order, and the consequences of centuries of ignorance were about to be paid in full. The galaxy's empires scrambled, but their confusion played perfectly into humanity's hands. Entire fleets were immobilized, orbital stations disabled, hyperspace lanes controlled, and command networks seized before anyone could mount a coherent response. Humans did not attack blindly. They imposed structure on chaos, turning disarray into an intricate tapestry of control. What the galaxy had considered impossible was now routine. One hidden colony, nurtured in isolation for centuries, orchestrated a chain of events that reshaped the political and military landscape across thousands of star systems. From the bridge of the eternal dawn, Commander Sarah Halvorsen surveyed the unfolding transformation. Holographic projections filled the room. Star systems previously dominated by alien empires blinked under human occupation. Trade routes rerouted to human-controlled hubs, and orbital stations glowing with alien technology flickered and shut down under remote human commands. Her fleet's movements were a living diagram of inevitability. Every ship and station a cog in a mechanism the galaxy could neither anticipate nor resist. "This is not war," Halvorsen said, her voice calm but commanding, echoing through the neural link connecting every ship in the fleet. "This is consequence. Every action, every delay, every refusal to acknowledge our existence has led to this. The galaxy has created the conditions for its own reckoning." Alien fleets attempted counterattacks, but every maneuver was anticipated. Human calculations, refined over generations, predicted their movements before the aliens even considered them. Reinforcements attempting to warp into contested sectors found their routes blocked or misdirected. Strategic points, once thought impregnable, were neutralized without a shot fired. The humans were executing not a campaign of destruction, but a campaign of orchestration, isolating, immobilizing, and reshaping the galaxy's power structure according to centuries of foresight. On Elysium, the Council of Elders watched silently as the first ripple of control spread beyond their hidden sector. Each member understood the significance. The galaxy, which had dismissed humanity as extinct, was now entirely vulnerable to the species it had sought to eradicate. Plans that had taken centuries to perfect were unfolding flawlessly, a testament to patience, resilience, and human ingenuity. Holographic displays showed alien empires in disarray. Trade hubs remained frozen, fleets stranded, communication grids looping endlessly, and entire systems effectively paralyzed. Yet, even in the midst of this upheaval, The humans maintained discipline and order within their own forces. They did not revel in destruction. They did not sow chaos for the sake of chaos. Every action was deliberate, calculated, and unavoidable. Humanity was not merely responding, it was dictating the terms of a new galactic order. Halvorsen's voice rang through the fleet once more. We are not here to annihilate indiscriminately. We are here to impose clarity where there was complacency. We are here to demonstrate the cost of underestimation. Humanity has endured centuries of being ignored, dismissed, and hunted. Today, we act not as survivors, but as architects of inevitability. Every system, every fleet, every empire that ignored us will now recognize the truth. Humanity does not wait forever. Humanity does not forgive weakness. And humanity does not forget. Across the galaxy, even the oldest civilizations, the ones that had survived countless wars, rebellions, and technological revolutions, realized with horror that they had misjudged humanity. A single hidden colony had endured for centuries, mastering every skill, technology, and tactic necessary to return not just as survivors, but as the dominant force. The galaxy, structured around treaties, bureaucracy, and false assumptions, now found itself helplessly trapped within a network designed by human foresight and precision. The architects of this new order, Halvorsen and her fleet, stood silent, deliberate, and inescapable. Every movement of their ships, every calculated strike of their technology, every disruption of alien command and communication networks was a reminder of what centuries of preparation could achieve. Humanity had returned, and in doing so, it had irrevocably remade the galaxy according to its own design. The era of alien complacency was over. The era of human consequence had begun. By the time the galaxy fully realized what had happened, it was already too late. Entire sectors had fallen under human control, not through reckless destruction, but through calculated precision. Star systems that had once been considered bastions of power were immobilized, their fleets stranded, their trade and communications networks co-opted. Alien empires that had once celebrated the supposed extinction of humanity now faced the stark reality. A single hidden colony had endured, and it had returned not as a survivor, but as an unstoppable force. On the bridge of the flagship Eternal Dawn, Commander Sarah Halvorsen surveyed the network of controlled systems, each node a testament to centuries of patient preparation. The human fleet moved as one entity, every dreadnought, frigate, and interceptor part of a larger orchestration that left no gaps, no vulnerabilities, and no possibility of effective retaliation. Systems that had been safe for decades were now under human oversight, controlled through a combination of advanced technology, strategic foresight, and unyielding discipline. Halvorsen's voice echoed through the neural-linked fleet. The galaxy thought we were gone. They assumed our silence was weakness. They believed that centuries of exile had erased our threat. Today, they discover the truth. Humanity endures. Humanity adapts. Humanity is inevitable. Every empire that ignored us, every fleet that dismissed us, every world that thought our extinction permanent, now they pay the price of hubris. Across the galaxy, alien fleets scrambled, but their efforts were futile. Hyperspace lanes were blocked, reinforcements delayed, and command networks disabled with unerring accuracy. Orbital stations that had been bastions of alien power were seized or rendered inert. Trade convoys remained frozen in mid-transit, leaving supply chains in chaos. Entire civilizations were paralyzed, unable to respond to a species they had assumed was powerless. Humanity had not simply returned, they had reshaped the rules of engagement across the galaxy, enforcing order where there had been complacency. The Council of Elders on Elysium watched as the first wave of controlled sectors expanded. The galaxy, which had celebrated their destruction, now recognized that it had underestimated a species that had grown stronger in isolation, mastering technology, strategy, and resilience over centuries. The humans had waited, endured, and prepared, and now the universe was paying for every assumption, every act of dismissal, every moment of underestimation. From the bridge, Halvorsen looked out at the galaxy stretched before them, calm and resolute. We are not here to annihilate without purpose. We are here to restore balance, to correct the mistakes made by those who believed they could ignore us. The universe thought humanity extinct, but we were only hidden, waiting for the moment to assert our inevitability. And now, the era of human consequence has begun. The fleets of Elysium moved outward with relentless precision, every system captured, every enemy fleet neutralized, every strategic point secured. Across the galaxy, one unshakable truth became clear. Humans had survived, had endured, and had returned with the patience, technology, and cunning to command the cosmos. For those who had thought the species extinct, the realization was devastating. Humanity had endured centuries of presumed annihilation, had grown beyond imagination, and now held the galaxy in a grip of strategic inevitability. The era of complacent empires was over. The era of humans as the ultimate arbiter of consequence had begun. And as the stars themselves seemed to bend beneath the might of the hidden colony's fleet, a single, undeniable message resonated across every star system, through every channel, and into every mind capable of understanding it. Humanity had survived. Humanity had returned, and the universe would pay.